On this episode of AVWeek, InfoComm Connected registration is open, what it will mean to the AV industry. Taking a look at the Women in AV survey, and also Zoom tries to get more secure. All that and more next on AVWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AVWeek, episode 456, recorded Friday, May 15th, 2020. Just that easy.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Shure, sound extraordinary.
And by
Vadio, makers of the new NDI professional broadcast camera, the RoboShot 30E NDI.
And by
QSC, who invites you to go native with the QSys audio, video, and control ecosystem.
And by Chief, the global leader in commercial AV mounting solutions.
This is AVWeek, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week. I don't believe that this young lady has ever been on this program before, but she's been on my buddy Matt Scott's 1,000 times, so why it took me so long is beyond me. Ms. Heather Sidorowitz from Southtown AV. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello. Great to see people.
Just in general, that aren't your family, right?
People, yeah.
You can actually, our editor, Lenore Lane, did a very nice expose, but a very nice piece on
Nice story. She did it, yeah, she put it together well. I think it does tell the story.
Yeah, absolutely. So check that out on our website. Also with us from out east, Mr. Brad Grimes, a longtime AV professional. Welcome, sir.
Good to see you, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. And I would say go Cardinals, but there's no baseball because Brad's a Cubs fan.
Yes.
Anyhow, last but not least, from QSC, out way of Colorado, by way of Minnesota, by way of West Palm, Florida, Mr. Mike Brandis. How are you, sir?
Great. I thought this was a virtual happy hour.
It could be.
Can you see all the wine? I'm like ready. Can you
it's
see
1 o'clock. It's 1 o'clock Central Time. Sure. What the heck? I mean, what's that, noon Mountain? So yeah, you're fine. And you're in Denver. So, smoke them if you got them. Yeah. All right. Let's get on this before I get somebody in trouble, and most likely me. First story comes to us from our friends over at SCN and AVNetwork.com. InfoComm Connected registration has officially opened. The virtual show takes place from June 16th through the 18th online. 16th through the 18th, yeah, online. Rochelle Richards, the Senior Vice President of Events at Avixis, says, quote unquote, a talented assembly of industry leaders will converge to invoke an abundance of lively and constructive conversations on the most top-of-mind issues. There will be education. There will be virtual booths and panel discussions, two of which will be led by yours truly. Mr. Grimes will also be there leading some education. We don't know officially whether or not Mr. Brandis will be in the QSC virtual booth, but QSC will have a virtual booth. So let's start there. This is in response to the cancellation of InfoComm 2020, which was supposed to be happening in Las Vegas. Avixa made that announcement late in March. Mr. Dave Labuscus made the announcement about InfoComm Connected, actually on our very airwaves, the first day of our Learn From Home Summit, the commercial one. Heather, I'm going to start with you on this. You and I both go to CEDIA. You and I both go to InfoComm. Actually, the first time you and I ever met in real life was in Orlando in InfoComm.
Yes, we did.
It's a hard question, and it's probably unfair for anybody to ask this right now. But will this work, right? Will this, in the grand scheme of getting everybody together online, which is something that a number of people have already done, right? We mentioned the fact that Rave had their virtual trade show, their virtual training session week long. We had ours. It's coming up next week. Almo is doing 3 days. They're regionalizing it both east, west, as well as the central time zone. But I guess the bottom line, from an attendee standpoint, will this kind of work for you and maybe fulfill what would have been normally going to Vegas this time?
Well, it's going to be tough. right? It's no easy feat, but if anyone can do it, I think InfoComm's in a great position because they have some really neat, fun visual things. InfoComm's always been my favorite show. It's such a visual show. How you relate that back to an online status is gonna be a challenge. But I think that just on the connection alone that people have to InfoComm, to going to InfoComm, I believe that people will still check in one way or another. I think that they'll still register. I think that they'll check it out that first day, just like that TV show that someone tells you to watch, right? You have one episode to grab them. So if they can do that in the beginning, in the keynote, in the whatever, however they begin, I think that there's a chance that people will continue to tune in.
Tiger King. Go watch, don't watch it, actually. Mr. Brandis, we'll ask you from a manufacturer standpoint. What does success look like? What does success look like for InfoComm Connected from a manufacturer standpoint where, let's be frank, you guys, not just you, but other manufacturers will spend several thousands of dollars. Some other manufacturers go into the millions to get badge scans, right? To get connections, to meet with your folks one-on-one, to get FaceTime with folks in real life. When that has gone to a virtual setting, like so much of our lives has now, what does success look like? What is the takeaway from this?
That's a really hard question to answer, but I think an event like this offers us a tremendous opportunity to interface with people who, for whatever reason, wouldn't be able to attend the InfoComm show. We see scores of people every InfoComm show, but for every person that goes, there's dozens of people in the industry that don't go, right? So we have a chance, I would say, to reach more people at a much lower fixed cost. We're not sending people out to Las Vegas and enjoying some of the best meals of their lives. We don't have a giant booth that we have to spend months building and shipping. So it allows us to focus our time, effort, and energy into interacting with customers, which is normally just a portion of our time, effort, and energy for any trade show. So I think having a chance to, from a manufacturer standpoint, having a chance to talk to more and different customers is always great. We're a large enough manufacturer that we have a sales force that we're able to keep our customers up to date. I think this is going to be really beneficial for a lot of those manufacturers that don't have that. A lot of the manufacturers that have small booths at InfoComm where they're discovered or maybe get their first big sale. I think this keeps that hope alive for them as well. And also, as an attendee of the InfoComm show for 10 years now, the trade show and talking to manufacturers is a portion of it, but really the big value is in attending these networking events, which would be interesting to do online, but panel discussions, education sessions, things like that, I think will be incredibly beneficial to attendees moving forward.
Yeah, there's two things I want to pick out there. Number one is the virtualness and what this looks like going forward. I have said this a thousand times in the last 2 months, and I'll say it again. I don't think this is our final reality, right? We will get back together at some point. Yes, I will be able to see all of you in person, maybe not Brandis, but the rest of you in person at some point. I pick on Brandis. I've known him way too long. But what this looks like maybe in 2021 or 2022 as an addition, right? Mike, you said something very important there. Not everybody goes to the show, even when it happens, right? So this might very well be an add-on, something that you guys can do going forward, right?
And InfoComm/AVIXA has tried to address this problem being not everyone can afford to go to this one trade show that happens just a few days a year for years. And they've done it in a number of ways, from the regional roundtables to the small or larger regional showcases. I think this, as an add-on to a large annual in-person gathering, is going to benefit everybody. Now, whether that happens, we don't know, but I guess the more we as manufacturers can do to engage with customers that we don't always see all the time, just creates new customers for us and new customers for our customers in some cases, when we talk about, facility managers, IT managers, things like that.
Mike, I don't know if you have any connections to the marketing side, but the greatest thing I've heard so far that anyone's done since this quarantine is they've said, join us for a virtual happy hour or take our webinar or join this and we'll send you the drink so that you open up the drink and you have it together virtually. And I think that was the greatest. I would sign up for just about anything for that. Not that I'm an
I know.
alcoholic, I swear.
I'm going to start signing up for other manufacturers' webinars just so that way I
Just so
can
you
get
get
the $10,
But it's a
Grub
clever
card.
way to get people, kind of involved. That piece of the end of the day after our feet hurt walking around. You can throw that out there. They can send me too.
I'm going to write that down and I'm going to present it as my idea.
Go for it. Just sign me up twice.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Grimes, we'll let you wrap up on this with it's not as hard a question as Brandis's was. What is the best way to experience something like this? We've been reading online this week in preparation for this segment, looking around, and some folks are turning on their out of office filters when it comes to their email, right? So they're not taking any emails; they're going straight to the filter there. Our buddy Brock McGinnis swears that he's going to get in his 20,000 steps that he normally would during InfoComm. That might be a bit extreme, but go for it, Brock. We wish you well. But what is the best way to do this?
Well, it's funny you mentioned Brock because he and I were talking earlier this week, and he is moderating a session based largely on I think what he wrote at AVNation about how to approach the market during these times and how to build relationships through empathy and how to be there for your customers. But one of the things he said was that he believed and he was going to block out these days. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was intentional that they targeted InfoComm Connected for when they expected people to have already blocked out time on their calendar. And I happen to agree with that. I think that a lot of what InfoComm Connected will be about is some of the strengths of the in-person show, which is this type of mind share experience that you get and hearing different voices and learning new things you hadn't heard before. And the organizers I know brought a lot of the sessions that they thought were strongest from the regular calendar into this. So I think that one of the things to do is to make some time for it. I think if you're trying to pop in and pop out and still do all your work at the same time, it'll be a little bit more challenging. You might not get as much out of it. So if you can, block out as much time as possible, do the same thing you would if you were in Vegas, look at all the sessions, try to ID which ones you're going to go to at what time, devote as much headspace as you can to it. I think you'll get the most out of it.
All right. Do you think it will be in conflict with when states and areas start to reopen? Because or Mike, I mean, anybody throw it out there, but I wonder if, if say New York right now in our county, we're looking at reopening in June 1st, right? I have a chance of being much busier when InfoComm starts, right? Versus, do you think that does anyone know if that's been taken into account?
I don't know firsthand that that's been taken into account, but clearly because this is not like any other InfoComm year, there are going to be circumstances we can't foresee. Again, I was talking to another person who's going to present on a subject that may change dramatically between now and when they present in June. So there's just so much going on, and as economies do open and people get back to work, they're going to learn things on the fly that hopefully they'll be able to bring into some of these sessions. So yes, it's clearly, even the in-person was always in conflict with a lot of people's busy seasons. That's completely understandable. But if you were able to block out any of that calendar, it's probably a good idea to take as much time as you can. But sure, that's going to happen.
And I'll jump in here. Again, from the manufacturer standpoint, we want to talk to customers and get whatever. We want the output of badge scans, not just badge scans. But I did read in the article that they're going to have a lot of the sessions up longer term for like a month plus. So I think those that are going to be coming out of quarantine or facing a busy season, again, are going to be able to access a lot of that rich content that otherwise, maybe for the last few years they've been able to access after the fact. But for a number of years in the, NSCA InfoComm show days, that kind of stuff only happened within the confines of whatever convention hall you were in. So I think having access to that stuff that they can use for professional development, maybe to pique an idea in their mind, I think will be really good.
Thank you so much for watching this first segment of AV Week. To see the rest of the episode for free, click on the link below or go by the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.